The next speaker, as Maya said, there are people that, let's say, worked on the implementation and preparation of the regulation for a long time. And I'm very pleased to have Niklas Hedberg with us, who was one of the first people working on this regulation, who was heading UNETA 21, the joint actions. He was chairing this one. He's now co-chair of the coordination group. And as you know, the whole endeavor is run by the member states. So Niklas is embedded in the Swedish system and is a chief pharmacist at the Swedish TLV, so the Swedish Health Authority. Thanks for being with us, Niklas.
Thanks. Thank you for inviting me. And this is actually my first visit to the European Access Academy, so I'm glad to be here. And thanks for the introduction. I will try to, from our side and from the coordination group, give a brief overview of the structure. And I know that most of you are probably aware of this, so I will focus on the most important parts and emphasize a few of the things that Maya have said, but putting them in the visual context. So the regulation, I don't know a lot of EU regulations, but I have understood that it's quite unusual that the member states are have the decision-making power in the regulation. So the member states coordination group on HTACG is a quite extraordinary construct. All the member states are represented. They have one vote each. They have elected Roisin Adams as the chair, and myself and Marco Marchetti as the two co-chairs, and Marco is also here, and you met him yesterday. The coordination group has also appointed 4 subgroups. That's up to the coordination group to do that. Those are on joint clinical assessments, joint scientific consultations, identification of emerging health technologies, and on methodology. And Maya have talked a lot about the legislation as such. The role of the European Commission is twofold, I would say. First, they are the secretariat with administrative support, technical support, and supporting with the IT function. And then they are also the Commission with their roles in the implementing acts and so on. We have seen about the IT platform. That's a key and very important part that everyone really must be aware of to be able to interact. And the formal ground for interaction is the stakeholder network. It is by all means, in every sense, a formal part of the regulation. It's important to highlight that also in this visual presentation. But I think a lot of it has been mentioned before, and I think yesterday was a full day on medical devices, and today will be more on medicinal products. So far, the coordination group and the subgroups meet in a joint configuration. We have had a small number of breakout sessions going into depth on one of them, but in almost every case and all the discussions we have the two together. So Marcus and my own responsibility is to make sure that our respective interests are never forgotten, if I put it that way. Just to be clear, the roles and responsibilities of the coordination group. Member states appoint the members and representatives. They elect the chair. We give up our voting rights, so someone else is, of course, then now talking for Sweden in that group, not me. We adopt the scientific procedural guidance. We provide the strategic directions, establish subgroups, decide and publish on an annual work program, and we meet, as I said, in the joint configuration. It's much more difficult for someone to make a slide on what's not the remit of the coordination group, but Maya had actually a box in red on one of her slides. And I must say this now when I have the attention of the full group. I've read the pre-booklet, and I do see that some of the expectations on the regulation is actually going into the member states' national competence and remit. And I'm sure that the list isn't comprehensive. There's much more to add. But in a nutshell, I think when we come to evaluations and deciding success, which we will talk about, and where the coordination group have started their work, but we are focused on 2028. And I cannot say what the coordination group will have as their success factors, because that will be up to the coordination group and the 27 voting members from the member states. So I cannot say that. But I guess to manage the expectations, when we talk about evidence, when we talk about methodologies, when we talk about processes, you can see that the regulation actually gives a platform to harmonize those quite a lot. And the member states have signed that they will do what they need to adhere to that. However, when we come to parts that we don't talk so much about in terms of the coordination group, because it's national competency, it comes to price, pharma budget, buying, purchasing power, and reimbursement by decisions. Don't put your expectations into that bucket, because that's national competence. The journey into those questions should be enhanced and should be smoothened, and I am convinced it will. I'm looking at the Swedish experience with in-hospital care orphan drugs, where the regions were, like you can claim member states were 10 years ago, all over the place. They decided to come together and work together with evidence, methods, and procedures. They still cannot take the decision power, because that in Sweden lies with every region. But although they make their own decisions, the situation is much more similar and equitable in Sweden when it comes to orphan drugs between regions. I think that is a reasonable goal from where I stand. I couldn't say that that's going to be the key outcomes or a list of outcomes from the coordination group, because I don't know. But don't, manage the expectations. That's my bottom line in this. And I think, by having said that, a few of the slides will be a bit redundant, perhaps, but I will go through them anyway. Haven't you read the rolling plan for the coordination group? Do that, because that's where you can see all the actions that are planned over the coming years. Haven't you been into the coordination main website? Please go there on the bottom right here. You can find any information here. I've highlighted the members of the coordination group, but you can also find minutes, you can find the recordings of all those information days that Maya mentioned, all the webinars, of course all the implementing acts and the formal documents as well. I think we have pointed this out. It's a regulation in a number of layers, so the HTA regulation, the implementing regulation by the Commission and negotiated or co-worked in the comitology group, HTA comitology group, and then the guidance documents by the coordination group. Two brief slides on where we are. How does the work look? So on joint scientific consultations, of course, we have a very detailed process overview where we have pointed out each and every step that every stakeholder needs to take. A lot of them, at least, or especially at the beginning, are on the health technology developer. You need to provide us with the information, with the documentation, with the evidence we need to get our processes started. But there is also, of course, boxes and timelines where to include stakeholders, etc. I'm not going to go through all of these boxes, but to show you that, and here is also connection to the JCA timeline where we do clinical assessment connected to guidance documents wherever you not only can find them, because that's on the website, but information about when will they be applicable. So second last slide is a plea to the health technology developers. If you want to contribute to the success that we will decide on for the evaluation, as I said, in the coordination group, but as I know will be discussed in many, many circles around Europe, you can submit the letters of intent and provide your updates. You can submit at the same time as you submit to EMA. You can prepare and read adopted guidances and starting mapping the PICO landscape in Europe. And that's also why we try to bring you as much information as possible to make sure that everyone knows where these documents are and how to use them and when to use them. We have a special emphasis on the small and medium enterprises that are harder to reach. You can make sure that you work with availability of data and limit the uncertainty around final label and indication for us. And for now then, the formal success criteria we have, I think some of them we can pick from the press release from the commissioner has already been up here on the slides before. It's a quite big task for us to make better use of available resources, ensure faster entry into the market for pharmaceuticals with lower costs, less red tape and faster administrative procedures. So I guess it's up to us among the stakeholders to make sure that we can work both smarter, faster, cheaper, and come up with a more efficient and cheaper system. Thanks.
Thanks very much, Niklas, for this great presentation.